Hi there, I'm Stacie Ysidro and I'm with Debra Wilder and we're at St. Pete Retreat talking about solo Tantra. So if you missed the first video, you can go back and watch it and get a little bit of history and background on this amazing woman here. And now we're going to dive into her specialty, which is solo Tantra practice. So tell us about that. What is it? Why? How? All the things.
So from the last video, I talked about my background of wanting to come to solo Tantra from meeting so many people that didn't have a partner. So solo is practicing all alone. You don't need a partner. You're first building a foundation, a deeper connection to yourself, doing healing work, learning how to ignite that sexual energy, how to awaken the whole body more to feeling around you, feeling within you, being more sensual, and then doing meditation practices alone to go along with that. And then after that, some people want to add partner practices, which doesn't mean like a married couple or boyfriend, girlfriend. It can also just mean going to a group class and finding different partners to feel each other's energy or work on a specific thing. So we don't always have to stay solo, but we can. So if you don't have a partner to practice with, you can begin alone and then find, normally within like big cities, you can find someone teaching Tantra, even if you have to search them out. And it's always worth driving to go to a class as well. But for me, my belief is we have to have some type of solo practice. Create that foundation, preferably daily, even if it's 5-10 minutes, where we open our body, get out all the kinks, get the energy flowing, work on breath work or energy work or visualization, chanting, and do that daily. And then once we feel good with that, then look at adding on a partner.
Yeah, I love that. Solo practice and going to group classes. Like, we're really lucky that within the Tampa Bay area, we have quite a few Tantra classes. We do one here. I know another one of my friends does one here in St. Pete and also over in Sarasota. One of my mentors is up towards Lando Lakes-ish and Paradise Lakes. So there's a lot of opportunity to explore in groups with coaches or practitioners and solo. And I think the big deal is what you're saying is like, yeah, it's like go to a class or go to a thing, but you actually have to do it yourself at home. Right. You actually have to keep doing it. And yeah, a lot of times people like the only time they'll practice is when they go to the class or when they go to see the coach or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they feel like, oh, nothing's happening. I'm not getting there. But it's like, right. But you know, it's a practice. And that's why like we just keep doing it. You know, it's not like we arrive somewhere and then that's it. It's like a continued practice. Like one of my mentors said, it's easy to wake up and it's harder to stay awake. And so to me, that means like, yeah, I can come into this bliss space and do a practice, but am I going to do it tomorrow? Am I going to do it the next day? Like, oh, look, I had this enlightening experience, but how does that show up in my life? And if I'm not integrating that with different types of daily practice, then it's just an experience and it doesn't tend to have as lasting effects as if you continue.
Right. But we have the memory of how we felt and we want to go back to that. It's just learning how to have that daily practice and keep up with it.
Yeah, and I think it's a piece of like us remembering too, you know, that it's something within us that we kind of instinctually know and can connect with.
It's similar to if someone has done Reiki on other people or energy healing or Qigong. If you don't keep up doing Reiki or Qigong, the next time you go to practice it or do healing on someone, you don't feel as energized. Like maybe you don't feel that divine connection above as strong, or the energy warmth in your hands as strongly as when you were doing it frequently.
Yeah, like a muscle, like you're working it out and building that muscle.
Yeah. But I believe once you experience it, or even if you are able to get initiated into it, you always have that peace so that you can drop back into it faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not restarting
from scratch, like you didn't know anything before. It's like you already had a glimpse of what's possible, which is super cool.
But it does make me sad, all the people I hear that wait years to find a partner, to start Tantra. And it's been 5-10 years, they still haven't met a Tantra partner to practice with. So they've never started Tantra aside of maybe reading 1 or 2 books and not practicing anything in the book, because they said, oh, I have to have a partner.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The time is now, and we are our own life partner, really, if you think about it. Everywhere we go, here we are. So tell me more about, because we were talking about the sexuality piece. And a lot of times that formal training, it doesn't really include or involve or even encourage an element of actual sexuality or sex. And we can kind of blueprintify that by saying like the Tantra stuff is the energetic blueprint. And then there's the sexual blueprint, which is more about, penetration and orgasms and physical contact. And so a lot of times people think that those two things are very separate and that they're not compatible. So how do you see those going together?
When I began, I was interested in the energy and meditation practices. Now, I would have never started probably with Tantra. Like most people, if there was 0% sexual practices, most people would never begin. And they're lying to themselves otherwise. Otherwise, like Taoist or Qigong practices or Zen Buddhism would be far more popular than how Tantra is, right? Like people, like we're sexual beings, we want to learn part of that, and you can't shame that. So I was taught a little more from traditional, where it was Neo-Tantra is bad. We must teach white Tantra. You absolutely can never have sex in a session, and you can't make talking about sexual solo practices too much of coaching someone. But we are still human beings. We still need that. And you can't cut off that part of yourself. But unfortunately, like mainstream Western society, so much of it is very anti-Neo-Tantra, very much like Tantra is nothing about sex. But Tantra is about everything.
Yeah, it is. And I love that you're kind of talking about how that separation has been made and how that's starting to show up. Because you're right, there's 2 ends of the spectrum there. People are like, hear about tantric sex, and then so they might think that all it is sex, but then you're going to go to a class and they're going to tell you that that's not what it is, and that you can't even do that anyways. And so it's kind of like these really weird mixed messages.
And it's funny because, so I go occasionally and take other Tantra trainings, Tantra workshops, read a lot of books. And I went to one for a weekend certification in a specific practice. And they're very much about saying, this isn't sexual practices, yada, yada. But then, however, once you get through the first training, then it's like the second training with them is highly sexual. Like you go and you stay. I haven't done it yet, but you go and you stay and you do sexual practices with these other strangers in it. So what is the disconnect? Like are we lying to ourselves saying in part one, this is nothing sexual, and then, oh, by the way, all the sexual stuff
Rub a
happens
dick.
after this. Yeah, you're going to rub her clit
Yeah,
for
spread
30
your
minutes.
legs.
But no, this is nothing sexual.
Yeah. I love that. It's kind of hysterical to me too. And so yeah, a few things. One, I think why this resurgence of the whole Tantra and sex and spirit, from what I understand, I follow a Rinpoche over in Malaysia, and he always talks about talked about Vajra Yogini is the highest Tantra deity, Tantra practitioner goddess, the union of divine masculine, feminine embodiment of that. And that in like Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, that's like a very high initiation, like what you were saying. And you have to do all of the other initiations and meditations and all of the things first, right? But what he was talking about is how actually that she is like ultimately going to be our way towards that wholeness and unity of this times. He says that this is degenerate times, meaning that not that we're all sexual deviants, but that we've never been in worlds where we've had more distraction. There is distraction from everything, technology, someone's doing their yard, I love the birds, fucking and all the things. So if we can access this level of like, I don't know, spirituality or wholeness within ourselves, that this is a pathway for that Tantra is the practice for these days, the age that we're in right here and right now for degenerate times. And so I loved that because it was, that Vajra Yogini, she's got her breasts out, she's beautiful and her body's, she's naked, she's red, and so it is very sexual. And I think that people can connect to that, and that, and it's been so repressed. So what better way to access personal growth, development, spirituality than by cutting through all of this other bullshit, and with the sexuality piece? It's like a hack almost, so that's one thing that came up for me as you were saying that about, including the sexual piece. And the difference that is what we're doing is we're not just seeing it as like something that's out there. We actually believe that that is within us. So that's that practice of the embodiment of that divine feminine masculine and that sacred union within ourselves, and then, like you said, sharing it with someone else and stepping into that space. So yeah, that's just like really present with me right now. I guess I felt like I had to share that.
Oh.
Yeah, I get jazzed about that. And I think that also maybe another reason why there's like this sex, separation is we have laws around touching people's genitals, And so sometimes I also wonder too, like, you can't tell someone that you can go and, and do these practices on someone and get paid for it, because the law says that that's prostitution, which I don't agree with, because that's not a sexual service for sale. Tantra is not a sexual service for sale.
And if a physical therapist works with that body part, it's for health.
It's for health.
It's not considered sexual, even though they can be doing similar
things, exactly,
especially with the yoni,
pelvic floor, prostate stuff. So yeah, I do think that our systems set up, have an effect on that, and our puritanical kind of backgrounds of hiding it, separating it, And I love how this newer generation seems to be, we love this. less of that, which is super cool.
Yes.
And I think there's so much more interest in it. So what happened when you started mixing in the actual sex piece with the breathing and all this stuff? How did that happen for you?
So I first began with just like energy practices, such as, like, if anyone's read Urban Tantra, they have fire breath in there, which is breathing between your chakras in a specific way for extended period, like 20 to 30 minutes. And then at the end of that, you should have an internal energy orgasm, which I did the first time I did it. Amazing practice to do occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing things like that. I'm like, oh, amazing. I can have an orgasm without touching myself. And, you know, my teacher taught a lot of that. And for me, it was like brainwashing. And I see that in other schools, even Tantra massage schools, where they're brainwashed, like, oh, you can't do this certain thing. Mm-hmm. So I had to undo and bring in like more solo masturbation techniques. And talking more with clients. But it took a long time to undo when we see coaches or gurus and or lineages, and they say, this is how you must do a session, or this is how you must do your workshops.
Yeah.
And people, I see it all the time with practitioners or teachers, and then what they tell the mainstream public, they follow that. So eventually, I don't know why. I mean, I guess because sex was always a huge interest, and I saw like private one-on-one clients where the other part was not enough.
Yeah.
But I do understand part of that, where it is like, okay, you're building a foundation and being able to coach people verbally or just with how to teach them the meditations. So I understand having both of those.
Yeah.
But not saying absolutely never do blank. Like the Buddhist lineage of going through the different processes of adding in things, but not being told from the beginning, this is wrong. Never do it, and tell everyone else to never do it.
Yeah. One of my mentors always said, like, if someone says that this is the only way, then run, because that's not the truth. You know, like, there's more than one way to do things and get to where we're going and experience things. And yeah, I think that what I'm hearing you say is that you tuned into what was in alignment for you.
Yeah.
And you were able to witness things in other people and within yourself that led you to be able to be like, hey, I don't really think that what I was told is the whole entire truth. And so you got to start to expand that and see what does that really mean for you.
Yeah, and doing tantric sex and experiencing that. I'm like, of course I want to keep doing that. And I was never Hindu. I would do chants around certain goddesses and still do like the energy behind the goddesses, but I was never Hindu where I believed I have to do things a certain way in a religious manner. Yeah. And Tantra did not start out as a Hinduist practice, yet it is talked about so much because it was added on, I believe, because of the patriarchal thing of not wanting women to practice Tantra unless they were having sex with people in temples.
Interesting.
And so all this religion got mixed in because they said, you know, sex is shameful. But then you have Osho and other people that brought it to the West, or Westerners coming back to Europe and the United States. And of course, we want to add on some sexual things. But that's how it originally started before religion was added on, where people could do all of these types of practices.
Yeah, it's true, because I've listened to Rinpoche talk extensively about he talks about sexuality directly, which I thought was really cool, being like Tibetan Buddhist fucking like a Rinpoche. Are you kidding me? But he always talked about how it's not necessarily what we do that is bad. It is the results of what we do that ultimately is the karma. So it's not like, no, you can't have sex with so and so. It's that you can make a decision on what you want to do, and whatever the results of that is going to determine, well, was that a good or bad thing that you just did? Because these are the results. This is what is happening. And so I loved how he kind of like removed the judgment of things being good or bad, or only having to be like a certain way around sexuality. He wanted to focus more on like your intentions and the results that show up because of our actions. And I loved that.
Yes,
I thought that was amazing. Yeah.
I do see the other side of it. So I'm not gonna say everyone does it right. I believe some people could be more honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I've met many clients that were disappointed because they wanted to be initiated to Tantra, and they had seen a practitioner or practitioners and let them know, hey, I want to learn Tantra and be initiated into it. But the session they got was purely entertainment. And entertainment is great too.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone says, I want this, and they're given something else, then that's not fair to the client.
Right. I love that you brought that up, because being a practitioner, and I did work a lot with men, mostly in the past, and I would get a lot of people, oh yeah, I want to learn this. I want to, learn to control the orgasmic flow and the ejaculation and all the things. Mm-hmm. And then, they show up and we start doing, okay, this is the breathing and this is the theory and this is the blah, blah, blah. But really all they want is just the happy ending piece. And so then I was like, well, wait a minute, why are we even talking about this if you don't really give a shit? Like, why are you even here? Like, this is a separate container. So that's really when I got in my head, like, hey, entertainment is amazing. And I love that. And I totally am into that. And that's a different container than what that Tantra and that coaching and education container is. Yes, orgasm may occur, touch may occur, energy flows, and that's just something that happens as a result of the practices that we're doing. It's not the main focus.
Right.
And and so for people to get really clear on, am I seeking a practitioner because I want to have an experience and it's about my pleasure and enjoyment, then that's not necessarily a primarily like learning coaching space. Right. It can be. You can still learn and get something out of that experience, because I know my clients did. And those are still two separate containers. And it's taken me a while to really kind of like separate those out and determine like, hey, I want to be in this container or that container with people, but yeah, just for people to get clear on, do you really want to learn something and practice something, or is this for your own pleasure and enjoyment? Because then you can really choose the right practitioner, first of all. And then second of all, like, you'll get the most out of that session.
Right. And they are endless amounts of practitioners that will offer the entertainment sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Hire a sex worker. And I really want to reiterate, like, there is no hierarchy to this. Like, there's no one thing is better than the other. I think it's just where we're at the time, and that we're wherever we're supposed to be. And if that's the space that you're in, then celebrate that and get that entertainment, go for it, but seek it in the right place. Don't go to a coach and expect, a happy ending massage, because that's not what coaching is. Like, that's not what the purpose of that is. So just getting clear.
I worked in a big city. I worked in Orlando doing in-person sessions for probably close to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And what I would see there was 90% were wanting entertainment sessions, because I would be very clear on what my sessions were. I wasn't trying to hide stuff because I was afraid there were police or something. So I was being clear, and I had certain questions or things I would talk about on the phone or an email before meeting them. And I would find 90% would just want entertainment. Some would want a mix of both, but it's better to be clear and note, like, okay, I'm not the right person for you, or yes, I am the right person for you.
Yeah.
Here's a referral for someone that loves and is awesome at doing entertainment.
Yep.
You know, contact me again if you want to learn the other pieces of that. And that's both the client and the practitioner staying clear on what their work, their sessions.
Yeah. Clear on your boundaries as a practitioner. That's a huge thing.
And not
so
judging other people that provide other things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because there is hierarchy in that space. I mean, I know we've made jokes about it. It's like, because you prayed over someone's dick, now it's not a happy ending massage anymore or something, or because we prayed or breathed together, now we're special, you know, and because they didn't breathe properly, then that's not sacred, or, you know, it's like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, let's give them a practice. Let's do like a bonus thing here. So again, tell them where they can find you, your website and social media that you want to give out, and then we'll do one more bonus here with a practice.
Okay. Yes. So my website, solotantra.com. You can find my courses or coaching there that I do online, and I'll be doing some workshops in person later this year. And I think the practice I want to do is going to be around that shame piece.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Amazing. Okay, great. So join us in our next video for a Tantra practice around helping to remove shame.